What up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here at Corsa Motors, where I drove that Bentley Super Sports a couple of weeks ago. Pretty cool car, very fast. I was trying to test out my my V-Box, and ultimately, the only thing I showed in the video was the actual pull that was good. After the first pull, it started misfiring. I got a blinking check engine light, which usually isn't good. And just for courtesy, I brought it back to the shop, and I didn't want to throw that in there because he was selling the car, and it's a great car. But I was like, hey, got a check engine light. It wasn't me. I just stepped on the gas. What it ended up being was a coil, and it's a pretty simple repair, but it made me think, a misfiring or a bad coil or anything like that. We had a Bentley at Gotham Dream Cars years ago, and a customer, it was actually that sort of model, but it was a Flying Spur, the four-door. And a guy not won, but he was treated by his company to a Bentley rental for a weekend in the Hamptons because he was a good employee. I mean, you're thinking that's like a $4,000 rental at the time plus delivery, and it's a $5,000 gift for an employee. So that means this guy has a decent enough job that they said, here's $5,000 for being awesome. And the guy made a bad decision. And if I'm doing a video talking about Bentley engines, you can imagine that bad decision resulted in the car needing a new engine. It rained a lot, and he was like, I'm in a Bentley. I just got to crank it up and raise it up a little bit and drive through this floodwater. Check it out, bitches. Look at me. I'm driving it like a rental. He did that, and he locked up the motor. And his company ended up having to pay for it because the insurance would not pay for it because he drove through standing water knowingly. And ultimately, he got fired, which is very unfortunate. You went from being a good employee who just got a $5,000 Bentley to costing your company, get this, 70 grand for a new crate motor from Bentley. So we had to drop a new $70,000 motor into the car plus the labor, and it was just like one of those things. I was like, why would you do that? But I bet you didn't know a Bentley GTC motor or a Bentley GT, Bentley Flying Spur, although you can scoop them up for 40 to 70 grand really for the 04s, 05s, 06s, relatively conveniently and readily available out there. I bet you didn't know the engine was that expensive. And there's a bunch of parts of the chairs with a Volkswagen Phaeton that you can get them relatively cheap, but that car can sneak up on you and kick you square in the dick. And if you think about everybody that was rocking a $60,000, $70,000 Bentley and running up the mileage and not maintaining them and all of that, you got to be very careful with the car you choose to buy. And that Super Sports was a nice car, which still may be for sale. I don't know if it is. But check out CorsaMotors.com. If you do go out and buy one, you're like, oh, cool, Bentley, I'll buy it. And now a Bentley could be a really solid car that you could buy, you could drive, it'll maintain its value, and you can sort of get a free car out of it, and they're very reliable. But if you do have big problems, transmission, engine, even turbos, it's not a cheap fix. And luckily that one was just a coil. But having to replace an engine on something, if you do drop an engine for whatever reason, and again, when you get with this influx of like Gallardos and 430s and cheap exotics that were sort of mass produced, they're like, wow, it's a modern looking car and it's cheap. Guys buy them, and the fact that they're reliable means they drive the crap out of them, and they drive them for a long time until they start like being like, oh, this thing's starting to act up. I'm just going to get rid of it. And by that point in time, it could be too late. You don't want to be the guy buying that car thinking that it's a good buy, and it turns out not to be. So, it's a story effectively of A, the Super Sports that I drove, but B, it's a story of a guy who rented a car or got gifted a rental car, blew the engine, and lost his job. That is absolutely like not what you expected going into the weekend at the Hamptons with your Bentley stunting around. Like, yeah, you just got a free Bentley rental, and then you're looking for work the next week. Catch you next time.